You asked for it, and we're giving it you. It's a managerial special. Big debate to come on this one, I'm pretty sure of that. Welcome along to the Red Devil Chronicle. My name's Andy.
My name's Nick.
And this week we're talking Jose Mourinho, Pochettino, Giggs, Louis van Gaal, Sir Alex Ferguson, and a lot more. So we're going to fire straight into it. This one's a special show that you've requested. And as you'll notice on the sack race, Louis van Gaal is a current 2-1 favourite to be the next manager sacked in the Premier League. A couple of favourites to succeed him are Mourinho at 1-5, huge odds. Pochettino at 4-1 and Giggs at 7-1. So we're going to dive straight in on this one. We're going to go into some of the facts around some of the people being belted around with the job to come. Have a look at who we think would be best suited to it. And we've got a lot of people joining us over the phone. We certainly hope to get involved as well. And you can always find us at Twitter at We Follow United if you're listening to the show, and in the comments section below. Let's open this up. Let's have a really good chat about this one. So, Nick, it looks as though there is going to be managerial change at Manchester United. And it looks as though it's probably going to come in the summer. Despite shocking results, it looks as though it's not going to come around until the beginning of next season.
Yeah.
Who do you think at the moment is best equipped for the role going forward?
I think there's two ways of looking at it, Andy, personally. I think there's a short-term way of looking at it and a long-term way. I personally like Pochettino, but I wouldn't be angry if we got Mourinho. I think they're both brilliant managers, but I don't see why we can't get Mourinho now and say to 2 to 3 year deal and possibly look at Pochettino again in 2 or 3 years' time. I don't understand why that can't be seen as a scenario for United right now, because we need instant success, and Mourinho would bring marquee players. Pochettino would need a bit more time, and obviously he would want to sort of bring some youth through. But what's to say we can't do that in 2 or 3 years?
Definitely. We're also joined by Sam in the studio as well. I want to get your thoughts on this. Just a quick one to start you off, Sam, before we go really into the heart of the debate. Who do you think's best equipped to be next Manchester United manager? You know we've missed Ancelotti. We know we've missed out on Pep. Where would you look? Would it be Pochettino? Would it be Mourinho? Have you got any others in mind?
I would love to see Pochettino. I think the what he's done at Southampton and then Tottenham that's consistency there, because he's done it at 2 clubs over a longer time. Whether he's available or not means that Nick's scenario actually makes sense. Mourinho's available right now. Maybe we go for him, and Pochettino's a young manager, and maybe we can wait. Maybe Mourinho is the best guy.
We'll certainly see. Well, we've got a Manchester United fan on the phone early doors to join us, get straight on cracking on with this debate to crack the can open. Now, we've got Chris Clay, regular to the show, regular contributor at CClay1978 United. You can follow him on Twitter. Chris, welcome to the show.
Good evening, guys.
How's it going, mate? You all right?
Yeah, not too bad. Evening, Sam.
Evening.
Right, Chris, let's fire you straight in there, straight away off the bat. We know Louis van Gaal's probably going to be gone by the summer, if not sooner, let's be honest. Who would you nail, your mass to? Who do you want to be the next Manchester United manager?
Well, in January, I think everybody called for Jose to come in then. So, are we going to miss the boat with him like we did 3 years ago, missing Ancelotti and Guardiola back then? Are we going to miss him again? I don't know. A friend of mine mentioned today, because we're talking about that, we're going to be on the show tonight, and it was a really good call. Joachim Low.
Germany boss, yeah.
Yeah, will he become available after the Euros?
Good question. How do you feel about an international manager? Because, it's been batted around in the past, Chris. Would that transformation be easy to make back over to a club like Manchester United, do you feel?
Well, I don't know. I want to show myself, and then he came up with a couple of good points. The way that Joachim Low has been involved with the German under-21 side, which is now the German national side, and the way that he's brought through many, many players, your Ozils, your Mullers, etc. They've all come up as a group, as a bunch, and with the struggles that United Youth Helpers has had recently, is well documented. The under-18s manager Paul McGuinness has gone.
Yep.
Nicky Butt's now in charge. Could he have, maybe given a plan? Maybe from the Woodward or from the board, or maybe they're not that clever. Would Joachim Low do something like that? I don't know. But me personally, I am in Jose's camp.
You were in Jose's camp. Okay. I mean, that's it's been a popular shout throughout the studio. I mean, our favourite's probably Pochettino, but I think, as Nick mentioned at the start of the show, Mourinho is going to bring in the marquee signings, and I think big names are going to be harder to attract at United.
We don't have time for Pochettino, Andy. We're at
I agree.
a crucial point. I'd love Pochettino over number one, but he'd want 2 or 3 years, and at the moment we don't have that sort of time. I
mean, I was going to ask you on this. It's an interesting point raised with the periods of transition that we've seen so far. I mean, where do you stand on that, Chris? I mean, would Pochettino be the ideal man, but it's just a case that United fans haven't got the patience. This club does not have the time to invest in that, sadly.
I don't think it's the fans that haven't got the patience. I think it'll be the board. If we continue not to make top four, which it looks increasingly like we're not going to do, the sponsors and the Glazers especially, it's a cash cow for them. If we're not in the Champions League, then that money is going to seriously dwindle. We're not going to be the first 500 million or the first billion club in the UK or whatever. They're not interested in that. They want success. They want it now. And Mourinho's well documented. He gives a shot in the arm to any club he goes to. He's won trophies every single place he's gone, and the players that he's managed, they all seem to, maybe apart from a few Chelsea players, they all seem to idolise him. He seems to go in, he puts an arm around them, he makes them feel $1 million. He gets the best out of them. It's documented that, when they left Inter Milan, the players were they were literally crying.
Absolutely right.
He'd get out of his seat as well.
I think the man management side of things is important though, Chris, as you say. And I want to bring another voice in on this one. We've got Jogi on the line to join us on the phone for the special as well. I'm sure you've been hearing what Chris has had to say there, Jogi. Where do you stand on this thing with Mourinho? Is he the right man to come into the club with where United are at now? I'm just going to bring you straight in on this. Where are you up to, Jogi? Who do you want to come in as next United manager?
Well, firstly, thank you for having me, guys.
Pleasure as always.
No problem, mate.
I totally agree. We have no other option. There is no other option at the moment but Mourinho. We should have acted a lot sooner when Ancelotti went. We missed out on Ancelotti, but it's like the other caller is saying, with Mourinho, firstly, what we've got to assess is City have got momentum already with Guardiola coming in, and if anybody believes that he's not going to do a good job, they're deluded. He's going to take City to another level, I believe. The only way we can compete with that and lift the club is bring Jose Mourinho into the club. I think the board are more or less have accepted that if we don't bring Jose in, we're going to be in deep trouble, because the way it's going now, it's not looking very good at all at the current situation.
Absolutely. One problem that I have got going forward with Mourinho, and perhaps you could answer my concerns on this, Chris, with the whole thing about Mourinho, this 3-year shelf life that he seems to have before he moves on. You mentioned about players crying when he leaves Inter, the sort of passion that people at Chelsea had for him before he left. It's usually a case that he does move on very quickly. Now, are you happy with that at United? Are you willing to accept short-term, or do you think United need a longer-term plan? Do they need someone who can build a legacy?
I originally thought that it would be short-term for United, but his silence in this last, 6 to 8 week period has led me to believe that maybe people within the club have spoke to Jose and have said, look, you are going to be the man. We're not going to announce it until the summer or whenever they're going to announce it. And I think he might buy into, wanting to maybe eclipse Ferguson and go on and win trophies. And he may think that United is the only club that he can do that with. He wants to win. He is a winner. And if he wants to win trophies at the elite level, then what better club than Manchester United?
I agree with that point entirely, Chris. It's a great point to make. His ambition and almost his arrogance and ego could take him to places above and beyond Ferguson. It's a great point. And Chris, I want to thank you for joining us on the special. We have got a lot of people to get through, so I'm going to continue with Jogi. I'm going to let you get on with your evening, but thank you ever so much for joining us, Chris. It's been a pleasure having your opinion.
Guys.
Thank you, Chris.
Enjoy the show. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Jogi, continuing on then from what Chris has just mentioned there, great point made. Has he got the right sort of ego almost and an attitude about him to sort of push on from Ferguson and almost aim for that as a goal, and that might keep him longer term. Could this be the club that does that for Mourinho?
Yeah, I think firstly he could hit the ground running. There's no doubt about it. He's managed in the Premier League, and he would hit the ground running. I believe we do have a good squad on paper, but I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, why they're playing like this. But can I just touch up on a previous point?
Of course,
Chris.
Absolutely.
I think no manager in the current stays more than 3 years, except for Wenger. And I think across the world, nobody stays for more than 3 years. What's going to give us the kind of success long term is how the structure of the club is set up.
Absolutely.
Not the manager. So it shouldn't be the manager could change every year, but as long as the club is still achieving and punching in the top level, it doesn't matter who the manager is.
I agree with that. Let me find something back at you though, Jogi, on that. You mentioned about the structure of a club going forward being important. Now, Jose Mourinho is not one that's particularly well known for youth development, shall we say, perhaps in the way that United have always looked to do. I mean, would that be a concern for you going forward, that when he did leave, there'd be 30-odd players out on loan at other clubs and all the youth would have gone elsewhere rather than getting into the team?
No, because the clubs he's managed have not had a youth policy, a big youth policy or emphasis on youth. Take Chelsea, for example. They've just been all about spend, and just let's get into the Champions League and win the big trophies. Madrid is all about here and now. Inter Milan didn't have any. You look at the age of squad he inherited when he won the Champions League. So I think at Porto he did have youth players. He did have Deco and them kind of players.
Yeah.
But what my point is, every club has a different criteria. Madrid would say we want to win the Champions League and we want to win it now. Inter Milan were like, I think they were just happy to have him at that point. And I think their expectation was not as high as where he did end up taking the club. At United, at the same time, we do have good youth players, but the overall vision, we can't. Too many fans are saying, "Oh, he's too short term. He's too short term." Pep Guardiola is already speaking about managing Brazil at the Qatar World Cup in 2022. But that doesn't stop Man City from competing here and now. The back end of the club is building, so they have that kind of. Barcelona is the best model to look at. Doesn't matter who the manager is, the club carries on, and that's what we need to look at. Ed Woodward should be moving on to the commercial side. They've already looked at, from what we're hearing at Man United, our director of football. I think that is the best step to take. In this country, we have too much of a negative viewpoint of a director of football. It works for the teams abroad, and I think we should embrace that system. Rather than saying, no, it's got to be the manager, he's got to make the decision, he's got to do the scouting, he's got to negotiate the contract, he's got to do this. The game's changed.
How do you feel on that, Sam, with the points Jogi's raising?
I think director of football kind of situation would make me nervous at United. I think with it being a big enough club, the manager needs to be the man. And okay, it's not working for Van Gaal, but I think we've seen directors of football and those type of people at clubs like Newcastle. We see them sign half the French population, and it's not working for them. And the manager has to work with what they've got, because the director of football signs who they want, and the manager has less of a say. And I think that maybe the manager has to be the man at United, and I think that's how most of the top four will work. And United need to be competing in the same way. The Premier League is different; it's a different kettle of fish, so competitive, and that's why we see the manager merry-go-round, because the managers have to get it right. But I don't think the director of football would be right for a club of the size of United.
Absolutely. I mean, just one final question to you, Jogi, before we let you go, because we have got other callers piling in and we've got lots to discuss still on this show. If, for example, we were to replace Woodward with someone in a similar role, but someone perhaps better at performing the role, I mean, would that not be the same sort of difference rather than having someone with the actual title of it? If we had an improvement, someone like David Gill rather than Woodward, would we not still be sort of fairly secure on the signings we're bringing in?
I think we need a specialist. I take up on the point your colleagues raised already, but the managers we're looking to bring in have all worked with director of football. Jose's done it, Van Gaal did it, and even if Pep Guardiola, whoever you look at, Ancelotti, these managers are not out-and-out managers like Fergie, where they go and scout, they go and negotiate. They've all worked with director of footballs. The top-class managers all work with director of football. They don't work the way we work in this country.
Yeah.
The second point is that if you look at what Woodward's doing, if we leave it the way it is, we're just going to carry on. We're going to panic last minute, purchase players. We're going to keep paying over the odd for players, get linked with players, and it's not going to go anywhere. We need a change. And I think the problem in England we've had it before is we've had director of footballs like Comolli at Liverpool and Tottenham. The problem is they've not been good director of footballs. They've not had a previous good track record. If we brought somebody in who had a good previous track record, then it could make a difference, because at the moment it's not really happening for us, and we have to accept that.
Yeah. Jogi, great points as always. I'm going to have to move on because we've got plenty still to go through on this managerial special. Just remind us where people can find you on Twitter.
You can find me on Twitter. I am Jogi VQ.
There you go. Please give him a follow. Great points as always. Jogi, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much for having me, guys.
Thank you. Back into the studio then. A couple of great calls there from Chris and Jogi. Some excellent points raised there. Both nailing their votes to Jose Mourinho. Slightly different from the feel within the studio. Do the pros outweigh the cons with someone like Mourinho, do we feel?
He's like Chris said earlier, he's a shot in the arm, Andy. Like I said, Pochettino is going to want time, and United are not a club right now who has time. If we'd literally just got rid of Fergie now and we'd come away from winning the league, he would have 2 or 3 years. We're at a point now where he's not got 2 or 3 years. We're out of the top 4. We're struggling. We're not winning games. I think we're averaging 1 in 4 at the moment, which is appalling for Manchester United. So unfortunately, I want Pochettino, but I'd have to choose Jose right now. We need a shot on the arm. We need a lift. The players need a boost. He's got the ego about it. And I don't think he'd want to stay long term, because he's the type of guy that'd want to come in, turn the club around, win a league or 2, and then go off on his own thing, on an adventure, and say, look what I did.
And I think that is more modern day football now, as Jogi raised the point on. I think that's something that's going to be the way going forward
now. The football
now.
Directors that we keep talking about as well. I was always totally against it, but we've been struggling for the last 3 years. I'm up for trying something new now. It's not going to get any worse if we have a football director in. Let's get someone in who's proven from one of the respectable lesser teams. Like, I think we were linked with Andrea Berta from the Atletico Madrid setup. Brilliant that they've won the league in such a Barca Madrid dominated league. So I'd be more than happy to welcome him. Try something new. It's not working at the moment. See what happens.
Sam, criticisms initially came around the Glazers when they took over the club. Obviously bought it against huge debt, which is usually the way companies of this size are bought, of course. But as a result of it, ticket prices went dramatically up. There was a lack of initial investment over the first couple of years, and Ferguson carried a very tired squad. So I can understand the criticisms that came in initially. If you look at the position Manchester United are in now, over the last the last 5 seasons effectively, so including the summer window of 2011 going forward, United now have a net spend of 320 million, something in that region, which is more than any other Premier League club. Now, financially, we're in a better position than we ever have been. In terms of the value of the club, obviously valued at £2 billion, which has gone up over double from the pre-Glazer years, of course. And turnover's gone up to 433 million in the last 10 years since the Glazers took over. So in that respect, we're making more money than ever. We've got more money to spend, and the Glazers are starting to let some of that go. Obviously, we've signed players like Falcao, Di Maria that haven't worked out under a wrong model. I mean, do you think bringing in someone like Mourinho would be better with that money power now available, ready to spend again? Is Mourinho better than someone like Pochettino, someone like Giggs, or any of the other options out there? Is he the best person to take this forward and make wise use of this money, do you feel?
Probably, yeah. I think throughout the history of the Premier League, we've seen flops of signings such as Juan Sebastian Veron, and we'll continue to see them through the time. So you can't criticise specific reigns and managers for signing them, because Fergie had his fair share as well. And I'm sure the next manager United will have them. But I think Mourinho can attract those big players, and I think if United are seriously thinking that top 4 isn't possible now, then Mourinho is probably one of the only managers that can still attract the big players and attach big money with the signings to get those big players in to fight for top 4 next season. But regarding the Glazers, I think it was a tough time when they took over. Everyone maybe overreacted a little bit maybe a lot of what's happened with the value of the club and the turnover would have happened without them, because that's just the way the Premier League's gone and the huge TV deals and the whole sponsorship system that's going on at the moment. And I think as the money gets thrown around, it's worrying with the Chinese clubs, but I think United can compete, but you just need the manager to get there.
Possibly so. I mean, we've talked a lot about Mourinho. He's certainly been a favourite of the two callers that we've had so far in Chris and Jogi, Nick.
Yeah.
And we've discussed some of the pros and cons around Mourinho. Obviously, we're very aware of what he can do, and very aware of also the problems that he can cause as well. I mean, we wanted Pochettino at the start of this show as our number one choice. Let's nail our vote down. Why is it that we would look at Pochettino? What could you say in terms of good things about him going forward?
Well, he started his career off at Espanyol. He was playing in a very, very tough league. It did not work out for him by the end of it, but he did brilliantly at Southampton. They're still reaping the rewards from what he did there now. You look how good Klein's gone to the right back at Liverpool. That's some of the things he's done. He did what he's doing brilliantly at Spurs. And long term, I think he's a very, very decent manager, but I can't help but think he's also waiting out for the Real Madrid or Barcelona job.
Quite a big jump. Well, we're joined by another caller on the line to join in the conversation. Cut us short slightly on the Pochettino pros for the time being, but we want to get everyone's opinion involved on this. Dave is on the line now. Welcome to the show, Dave.
Hi, good evening, Andy. All right?
Yeah, very well. Are you okay?
Yeah, not too bad, thanks.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us. Should be a good one, this one, Dave. I'm going to jump straight in there. United manager, where do we go next? Louis van Gaal probably going to be going, by the summer at the very latest. Who are you bringing in? Who's your vote going for?
We need immediate success, Andy, and to be honest, the ones that are out there at the moment, I can only say we go for Mourinho. He's free. He has got a proven track record of fast success, maybe not for a long period of time, but we need to get back to the winning ways. And I just jumped in there and heard about Pochettino, who would be a great manager at United. But would we get him? I don't think we would. So my choice is Mourinho. He's available.
I mean, this is it. With him being available at the moment, I mean, there is that instant success, as you say, whether it's short-term or not. And when you look at the stats of Mourinho, I mean, he's 66% win ratio in his career, incredibly high. And he averages 83 points per season as well. That over a 15-season stretch. So pretty impressive stuff from Mourinho. I mean, would you... In your opinion, Dave, I mean, one criticism we've levelled at Mourinho during this special show we're putting together here is that with Mourinho, you lose things like the United way that a lot of fans have been asking for under Louis van Gaal and not getting. Things like youth development, things like boring football, reverting back to defensive style of play when things don't go well. I mean, how would you respond with those sort of criticisms that are levelled at Mourinho?
I think, to be honest, we need to get away from the United way. The United way is winning. At the moment, we're not doing that. We didn't do it under David Moyes, and maybe that was a transitional period, but we've moved away from the Fergie era now. But the one thing that we can take from there is the winning mentality, and that is not being shown by United at the moment. And I think, the only thing I see Mourinho doing, to be honest, is bringing bigger names with him. And they're the type of people we need in there at the moment. People that I read a random thing yesterday that Ibrahimovic maybe looking. They are the type of people we need at the moment. We cannot rely on youth anymore. It's not that football. It can't be. And I just think Mourinho brings with him instant success, and that is what we need. Simple.
So, I mean, in the respect that perhaps that football has changed, United need to learn to adapt with the times then. Obviously, we've been left behind by Chelsea and Manchester City spending power over the last sort of 10 years or so. You just think we need to jump on board that and just accept that that's where football is then?
Well, absolutely. And you and me have spoke quite a bit about the fact that United used to be quite ruthless in their transfer deals.
Absolutely.
Whether that's, again, because of the era we were under with Gill and we were under with Fergie, but we were always ruthless. Whoever we wanted, we got. And it seems like now we can't attract those players. And even if they are attracted to Manchester, they seem more attracted to go to City. And I don't know why that has seemed to have happened then. I've just been looking at the league table. We're 6 points off Europe Champions League. What is the attraction at the moment to play for the United other than our history and our legacy?
Yeah.
That's the bad times at United at the moment. That people don't seem to want to come for us.
Absolutely. And is this perhaps then why, Dave, that Ryan Giggs hasn't been mentioned so far throughout the whole show? A 7-1 third favourite to be next Manchester United manager. Yet, we're coming towards the end of this management special debate, and he's not been mentioned once as a potential candidate. I mean, is that what it's all about? Is it the fact that Giggs doesn't have the experience to do it? Should he even be considered for a role like this at this stage?
I mean, the loyalty he's shown United and the standing he has with the fans, it would be lovely to see Giggs take that position over full time. And the only worry is, like you're saying, he's got no experience. Could he do it? He had a decent goal. What did he have? 4 games, 5 games?
He did 4 games, yeah.
And I know that's not a long period, but he seemed to conduct himself well on the touchline. And I don't know, it's a long shot for me. I don't see Giggs getting it. I think because of what's gone on with Moyes and what's gone on with Louis van Gaal, I think the United board now really needs success. We cannot go another season underperforming. I'm not saying we would do with Giggs, but I think it's a long shot for him to take the United job.
Just can't be risked, exactly. Dave, we're going to have to wrap up because we've still got plenty to get through and not a lot of time to do it. But thanks very much for joining us, Dave.
Thank you very much, Andy.
Cheers.
Have a good evening.
And you.
Bye.
There you go. Dave's thoughts. Another vote for Mourinho from him, going very much against the grain inside the studio that has stuck without Pochettino throughout. Now, I just want to quickly run through some stats that I'd done in a bit of research here on Louis van Gaal, Pochettino, Mourinho, and comparing those to Sir Alex Ferguson. Ran a bit of research through here, and I'm going to quickly fire through this. But I sampled the last 64 games of each manager because Louis van Gaal has been in charge for 64 games at United. Same number of games Pochettino has been at Spurs. So I also did that with Mourinho's last 64 games at Chelsea to make it fair. And Sir Alex Ferguson's last 64 games at United. So we can't say there's any bias towards any manager. These are the simple facts. What comes out of that is that the win rates, first of all, for Louis van Gaal is at 48%. That is the lowest, just for the record. Pochettino, 52% win ratio. Mourinho, 56%. And would you believe Sir Alex Ferguson's last 64 games at United, a 73% win ratio? Absolutely incredible. Now, a couple of other interesting things that I noted here is that Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United has 16 wins more than Louis van Gaal's United in those 64 games. Ferguson won 47, drew just the 8, lost the 9, whereas Louis van Gaal has won 31 by comparison, drawn 18, lost 15. It's an incredible difference, and also 51 more goals scored by Sir Alex Ferguson's Manchester United in the same number of games than Louis van Gaal's. How shocking statistics are they? A damning indictment perhaps of where we've fallen to, but also perhaps signs that, with those being his last 64 games at United, still performing at that level towards the twilight of his career, an impossible legacy to follow on from perhaps.
Yeah, I think so. I do think that Alex Ferguson overperformed in his last season with their squad. The whole thing was a little bit ridiculous that they won that title. And he really got the best out of him. And United haven't been able to find anyone since like that to get the best out of the players they've got. And I think that's the struggle, is to, as one of the callers said earlier, we're away from that Alex Ferguson era now, but are we truly away from that thought process? Or is there still a legacy there that we're trying to compare people to?
Absolutely. And Nick, with Mourinho, I saw your face sort of squint as I said Mourinho, 64 games, the last ones at Chelsea. Does it surprise you then to see, even with him leaving Chelsea in 16th when he was eventually sacked, that Mourinho in his last 64 games,
it doesn't. No.
Better win rate, more games won, scoring more goals, conceding only a couple more.
It wasn't Mourinho being a bad manager. I think it was the players aren't playing for him. I think, what are they now, 10 undefeated, I think?
Yeah.
It's appalling that from the players. They should be ashamed of themselves. Yeah, you don't become a bad manager overnight. Mourinho just upset one too many senior heads in that Chelsea dressing room.
Absolutely. When you look at it, I mean, Pochettino's rise has been absolutely brilliant. I think he won 35% of his games at Southampton, went all the way up to 52% so far at Spurs. So he's certainly a manager on the rise. And I think another reason I really want Pochettino going forward, he's only 43, very young manager. And if you are looking for someone to build a legacy, you know, trusting youth development, players like Harry Kane still being given a chance when he was underperforming start of the season, Eric Dyer, Tom Carroll, players like that. I think you're really going to see that at United, you know, being redeveloped if there was the patience from the fans. And also his pressing style of football as well. I just think it'd be a lot more exciting to watch. Certainly it'd be my vote still, despite what I've heard on Mourinho's side. I would still not be able to, you know, tear myself away from Pochettino. Just a quick one, though, to end, Sam. Ancelotti and Pep, we already missed out on as things currently stand. Have we already missed the boat, United, as things stand, with missing those two quality managers? And are we in a position where we are struggling to atop the very top names in management?
100%, yeah. When these big managers came available, I've never been a fan of Louis van Gaal from the start. Some of my friends and colleagues at work will know that. I've criticised him from the start, and I continue to do that. And I think longer we leave it, worse position we're going to get. And we can dream about Pochettino. I would love to have him. I think he's done a great job, and he works his team hard. And anyone that doesn't get on board gets off board, and he chucks them out. And I think United will miss out on more managers. So that's why I think the consensus now of Mourinho is so strong, because no one wants to miss the boat with him.
Possibly so, and with him being immediately available, despite the fact he divides opinion, despite his problems, maybe instant success is the way forward for Manchester United. It's been great to run this special, and thanks to everyone who got involved over the phone. Thanks to all the guys in the studio, as ever, for their great work. Just to end the show out of interest, with the conversation we've just had, has anything changed with our opinions? Sam, are you sticking with Pochettino as your choice, or are you going Mourinho?
Probably Mourinho.
He's been converted. Nick, Pochettino or Mourinho, where are you at now at the end of the show?
I'm at in whatever. I'd still give Pochettino time.
Yeah, and I'm giving Pochettino time as well. I'm sticking by it. And Joe, we've not heard from you all show. Welcome along to the special. We're going to give you nothing more than a couple of words. Pochettino, Mourinho, Giggs, where are you standing?
I know you've kept me busy tonight with these phones, but few words. I don't want Mourinho, because I don't want to start calling Manchester United Manchester Mourinho. So it's either Pochettino or Giggs for me.
There you go. Thanks as ever, as I say, to everyone involved. Thanks for listening to the show. It's been fast, it's been frantic as always, and plenty of great points made. In the comments section below, let us know your thoughts. Who are you having as next United manager? Get in touch with us at We Follow United. If you like what we do, give us a like, subscribe, let us know what you think. Thanks as always for your time. Take care.